London writers, the Austrian has won multiple titles in his homeland, shook up the Bundesliga with Ingolstadt and RB Leipzig, and has been tasked with keeping Southampton safe. Some notable results suggest he could be on track to do just that. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. The Clump of the Alps has a terrible nickname but a good record in Austria and Germany. You can see the comparisons with Clump and Southampton have improved under Hasenhüttl, but they're not safe yet. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Saints have proved adept at unearthing managers coveted elsewhere. And Hasenhüttl could follow Koeman, and Pochettino is another shrewd appointment. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle, led Saints looked a lost cause when he arrived, and although they're far from safe, the Austrians done a great job to keep their heads above water. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. We haven't seen a lot of Hasenhüttl Southampton, but the signs are good. He's turned around the Saints season with some good results, and I reckon they'll stay up now. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Southampton have certainly improved since his appointment, but the proof of the pudding will be in whether the Austrian can keep them in the Premier League. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live, has brought improvement to Southampton despite being a relative unknown when appointed. Still has to make them safe, however. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire Live. Saints looked doomed before the German coach freshened things up, and he seems to be getting the best out of his squad now. James Ward-Prowse has been reborn under Hasenhüttl. Chris Hughton, Brighton, 14 Football. London writers, Hughton will always be the manager who finally guided Brighton back into the top flight, and also did good work at Newcastle, Birmingham, and Norwich after leaving his coaching role at Spurs. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, harshly sacked by Newcastle and Norwich, but has proven he can manage in the Premier League at Brighton. Some of the big money signings of last summer haven't worked, but safety is within their grasp once again. A classy operator. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, always underrated, but always enjoys the respect of his peers. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle Live. After a fine start, Brighton fell away a bit, but the FA Cup offers salvation. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner Live. A likeable coach respected throughout the game, he will keep Brighton up for a second successive season and has also guided them to the last four of the FA Cup. Always underrated. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Huddersfield's Brighton are into the FA Cup semi-finals and on course to beat the drought once again. He's also one of the classiest people in the game. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Brighton are a very middling side, but that shouldn't stop Hughton from gaining plaudits for doing a very solid job keeping the Seagulls free from danger. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire live unbelievably. Earlier in the season some Brighton fans wanted a managerial change. Huddersfield has done a tremendous job guiding Brighton not only into the top flight but making them relatively competitive too, especially on home soil. Sean Dyche, Burnley, 15 Football.London writers, he brought Burnley up, went back down with the Clarets and won promotion again, having strengthened his squad. The question with Dyche is what next? Unless he can show he has greater ambitions for how his sides play, more ambitious jobs may elude him. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. Last season's 7th place finish at Burnley was a magnificent achievement, as was winning the championship a year after relegation. Needs to show he can get his team playing better football if he wants to shed his next Big Sam image. Relegation this season would dent his reputation. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has discovered just how tough it is to juggle Europa League commitments with a Premier League campaign, but that shouldn't undermine the excellent job he has done at Turf Moor. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live a big disappointment, but it was always going to be difficult after their brilliant season last year. Alex Dicken, Birmingham live football writer, his style of football isn't for everyone, but you'd be pushed to find a manager who gets more out of his players in the Premier League than Dyche. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online, from the dizzying heights of finishing 7th last season. To seeing his side firmly ensconced in a relegation battle this term, it's not been a campaign to remember for Dyche and the Clarets. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live has worked wonders for Burnley and took them into Europe, but they are far from safe and the manager has points to prove. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, live Burnley massively overachieved last season to reach Europe. This season they have massively underachieved, mainly because of the distraction of Europe, but the Clarets will stick with Dyche, who even has his own pub named after him. Roy Hodgson, Crystal Palace, 16 Football.London writers, the elder statesman of English football, steering Crystal Palace to safety, having built an impressive career across Europe and later with Fulham and West Bromwich Albion. England and Liverpool fans may have misgivings. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has found his level at Palace. Got the best out of players at Selhurst Park and they can be good to watch. Failed when given a chance at Liverpool and England. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, almost wrecked the Reds. Wrecked England's Euro 2016 campaign. Hasn't wrecked Palace's Premier League hopes yet. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle, live the Eagles are so inconsistent, but Hodgson looks set to keep them up again. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, live will probably squeeze just enough out of Palace to keep them up. That's about all you can say. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. The Premier League's oldest boss isn't being left behind by any means. If Hodgson's Palace hadn't started the season so miserably at Selhurst Park, they might have been in with a shout of Europe. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. There's a sense that, although Hodgson will surely keep the Eagles clear of relegation this term, they should be doing better. Wilfried Zaha is one of the most dangerous players in the league. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live. The Eagles have one of the best attacking forces in the division, but they are so inconsistent. On their day they can take the game to any side, but when they are not at it they can roll over. Brendan Rodgers, Leicester City, 17 Football.London writers, enjoyed immense success with Celtic after taking Liverpool as close as anyone to a Premier League title. His habit for coining a catchphrase has seen him cast as a figure of fun, but Rodgers is a sharp tactician. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. His record at Swansea, Liverpool, and Celtic stands up to scrutiny, but plenty find it difficult to get past the Brentisms. Would be better off sticking to the football rather than the talking. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Unfairly castigated in some quarters, he produced a sweet Swansea side, a Liverpool team which was once Steven Gerrard's slip from winning the title and dominated in Scotland. Early days at Leicester, but he's a talent. A talent who isn't shy of telling people of his expertise, but a talent nonetheless. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live not been back long enough to properly assess. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Live has a fine record, but it's too early to judge what his impact at Leicester City might be. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Rodgers has history in the Premier League, so Leicester's decision to appoint him looks a shrewd one. Early results have been good too. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. He's done okay since being appointed, but it's too early to make a true judgment on Leicester's boss. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live. Why yes, it is early days, but back-to-back wins, including the victory with 10 men at Burnley, have demonstrated that Rodgers may be able to get the most out of what is undoubtedly a talented City squad. Marco Silva, Everton, 18 Football.London writers. Is he the real deal or a worse version of Andre Villas-Boas? At Watford and now Everton, Silva started strong before seeing results and performances drop off. Unconvincing even if his CV would suggest otherwise. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, has somehow earned a big reputation despite limited success in the Premier League. Worked wonders to get Hull in a position to survive, but then blew it in the run-in. Javi Gracia has had more success at Watford and Everton should really be finishing 7th. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. Silva would have been right up there on this list a couple of years ago, but he's gone downhill rapidly. Everton are punching well below their weight this season and Silva's under pressure to offer hope for next season. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. Everton are arguably this season's biggest underperformers, a side who should comfortably be the best of the rest. Silva has work to do if he's to satisfy expectations at Goodison Park. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live Everton moved heaven and earth to get Silva. Many Toffees fans now wish they hadn't bothered. Millions spent on players and still they look miles off being a side that can challenge the top six. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Not really lived up to his reputation at Everton, and survival rather than challenging for Europe means it's not been a good season for club or boss. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. Going into the Anfield Derby in December, Evertonians were upbeat, optimistic, and even tentatively anticipating a season-defining success. They might have got 1-2, until Jordan Pickford's blunder kicked them so hard they struggled to recover. But he has recruited well and occasionally produced performances which hinted a brighter long-term future. Sunday's defeat of Chelsea has to become the norm. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live so much money spent, so little progress made. Silva has to be under pressure. Jan Seward, Huddersfield Town, 19 Football. London writers, prior to taking on the Huddersfield job, Seward was in charge of Borussia Dortmund's second team. It's too early to say how he matches up to more experienced managers. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer, should have given it to Martin from Wakefield after all. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor. David Wagner. He isn't. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer. It's impossible to judge Seward this season with Huddersfield completely and utterly doomed. A win against Wolves sees him pip Parker to 19th. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online. He's won a Premier League game, which prevents him being bottom of this list. The German's real work starts in the summer. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner. Live joined Huddersfield Town in extremely difficult circumstances, but there are signs he is putting his own stamp on things and, despite the results, there has been improvement in performances. Mark Douglas, Newcastle United Editor for Chronicle. Live new boss hasn't been able to reverse the decline. Big test comes next year in the Championship. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire. Live Seward took over a lost cause at Huddersfield. The ship was already sinking when he took over, and he looks like he is going down with his ship to rebuild in the Championship. Scott Parker, Fulham, 20 Football.London writers, thrown into the Fulham job as the club's third manager in a season that seems doomed to relegation. Parker isn't in last place due to ability but because of uncertainty. Who knows whether he has what it takes to be a manager? Only time will tell. Tyrone Marshall, men's senior football writer. Difficult to judge on limited evidence so far, but while Fulham are playing better football, they're still getting beat, which is a problem. David Prentice, Liverpool Echo sports editor, has struggled to turn the Crusaders' fortunes around. But then so would Mark Douglas, Newcastle United editor for Chronicle. Live what a horrendous season for the Cottagers. Their third manager hasn't been able to change much. Mel Booth, Huddersfield Town Editor for Examiner, lived difficult task at Fulham after a season of disappointment following their promotion. Alex Dicken, Birmingham Live football writer, 7 defeats in a row means Fulham are going down with a whimper. Parker never stood a chance of keeping them up. Dominic Booth, Cardiff City correspondent for Wales Online, he hasn't won a game yet, will surely take Fulham down, and like Seward will hope to do the bulk of his work in the summer and next season if given the job full-time. Rob Tanner, Leicester City Editor for Leicestershire, Live. Over £100 million spent in the summer and it has been a disaster for Fulham. Parker is now the third manager of the season and it is mission impossible for the Cottagers, who are heading back to the Championship,